What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing the season finale of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 2, Episode 9, and it's called Chapter 20, The Mephisto Waltz.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our final roundups, our best moments, our best lines. So be sure to stick around for that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode, y'all. All right, so we're breaking this up just like we normally would. We're going to start off with the Dark Lord and his rising.
The rise of the Dark Lord.
He's here now, and then we'll talk about everything else in sections.
Can we just quickly talk about if you liked it or not?
I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it. Like, I thought that it was one of the best finales that I've seen in terms of these types of shows. It gave me like all the Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes.
Yeah, totally.
And it was funny because I was thinking it as soon as I watched it, and I couldn't say anything to you until you watched it. And then when you said it, you were like, "It's Buffy the Vampire Slayer."
This is Buffy and Angel.
I was like, "This is amazing." Yeah. What did you think?
It was good. I really liked it. Really well done finale. Like, I was so impressed by it. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So it starts right off in the very beginning with like the smallest like pre-intro where we get an understanding of who Lilith was and her relationship with the Dark Lord.
So just really quickly, because we just started watching this again too, American Gods. Yes. This scene reminded me of American Gods.
It's very
so
American
much
Gods.
Because
it's true.
It very much took you back to like the origin story of these like two mythical people.
Yeah.
And I was so effing intrigued by it.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, can this be the whole episode?
Yeah.
And they shot it really, really
it
like
was beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it tells the story of Lilith kind of like walking through the world now that she like has left the Garden of Eden or whatever, and she stumbles upon Satan, who is a fallen angel, and his name was Morningstar.
Yeah, Lucifer Morningstar.
Lucifer Morningstar, and his wings were ripped off, as we know in like the Bible. He
like
got his
even
wings
the way
ripped
they
off.
showed him physically, like in his physical form, I was so fucking impressed by it.
Yeah,
because I really was like, how are they gonna show this guy? Like, if they do show him, and he's not like an animal demon person,
right.
Like, what is he gonna look like? And
It's
the fact
true.
that he had these like scars on the back of his like, you know, on the back that showed his wings being torn out. Like,
right.
It just, everything visually just looked so good.
It was really, really well done showing him. First of all, the actor that they chose, he's
so hot.
Yeah. Like, they chose him perfectly. And so he sees Lilith, and she's like, I took care of him. I like nursed him back to health. And I don't remember if they show it in this part of the story or they like it's like a later situation, like what happened to him. But I know that she says later on that as he stayed on Earth, the longer he stayed on Earth, he started to turn into like the monster that we see on the show, like the bull-headed monster.
Like that,
So then when that happened, he had to like, I guess, go to hell. Like he had to like leave like the world and like left her alone. So as she's telling this story, it shows him come out of the caves, and he's like fully nude except for like one little loincloth.
Ass looking good in the
Ass
bag.
looking good, and he's got like one hoofed foot. But
I'm like,
it
was two.
It was just one.
Oh.
So he's like limping
He's, like,
a little.
limping?
Yeah. And I'm like, he's got one hoof leg, but like he can still get it.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm still into it. So then it cuts back to the Spellman house, and Sabrina and Nick like run right in, and they're like, yo, we did something fucked up. And Zelda and Hilda are saying the same thing, like, yeah, we did something fucked up too. But that whole storyline gets kind of pushed away.
Yeah, we never really get Hilda talking about the guy that she just
murdered. Like he's dead. So I'm guessing that's something that's going to happen in season 3. But what happens is Sabrina tells the whole story. The Dark Lord is now back, and they're looking for Sabrina. He's looking for Sabrina. She's going to be like the bride of Satan. And Zelda and Hilda, like, they step forward and they're like, fuck no, you're not going to be a child bride to this guy.
Yeah.
I love him and all, but like that's not happening.
Yeah, so this entire time they're thinking that like he wants her as his bride, or
right.
What did you really think was the infatuation with Sabrina?
See, I didn't know what it was, but at the same time, I kind of, what we find out later on is what I did assume.
Yeah.
Just because she's so young.
Yeah, like that's
I'm
weird.
like, that's weird.
They wouldn't have shown
like,
that. Yeah.
That's too much. So she's like pissed off. They're like, okay, we're going to put a protection around the entire house. And while that's happening, the crew, as in Roz, Harvey, and Theo, they all show up at the house and they're like, are you the real Sabrina? Because the last time they saw her, she was like the crazy mandrake. And she's like, I'm so sorry about what happened, but shit's going down. The Dark Lord is here. We're gonna, it's gonna get fucked up. And Harvey basically says, if I could help, I'll help. And he says maybe they're in the caves. I think he's the one that suggested maybe the gates of hell are the caves.
I was like, good job, boy.
Like, wow, he really pulled through this episode. So, and I love seeing the tension always. And they write it really well that it's not like beating you over the head. But like him and Nick always have these I think it's really funny moments.
Yeah, and I think it's important for them to both have some like wins on each of their sides. So like it's good that like Harvey too can like get a win. Like he can't obviously compete with Nick in the sense that like he has no powers, but like he's still smart.
Yeah, he did a really good job in this moment. He's like, I'll step forward. We're gonna go to the gates and we're gonna see if we can like help you out. And Sabrina goes back into the house and she starts to question everything. And she was like, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why am I half witch, half mortal? Did my dad make a deal with the devil? And the sisters are like, no, that's not what we know. He loved your mom. That's not the situation at all. And they kind of leave it at that for now. And that's when Wardwell shows up at the house and she's like, yo, you got to come through. Mads is here. He needs to like talk to you. And she now tells everybody, because even Sabrina at this point doesn't know that she's Lilith. So now she's like, I'm not a witch, so you can't use your witchy spells on me. Because they tried to like do this protection, like take one step further, I'm going to kill you. And she's like, I'm not a witch. And then she's like, I'm Lilith. And they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What did you think of the reaction to this? And were they supposed to like love her more? Like, what did you think of this?
I didn't really think much of it.
Because I'm assuming that she's a part of the mythology, and I don't know enough about it to like really make a huge conclusion. But you'd think that they almost position all the female witches to be like, yes, Lilith, like get it now. Like,
did they even know
now's your time? Exactly. Like, did they know what like her mythology was?
Yeah.
Anyway. So that happens there, and then Sabrina's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna go. Like, you can't stop me now. Like, I have no powers, but let's just do this. So she goes with Salem, but we'll pause there, and we're gonna talk about all the Blackwood drama because that is a separate story.
It was very separate.
So what happened was, as we remember last episode, Prudence was like, listen, my dad's like a crazy bitch. I'm going to fucking get rid of him. So she calls on her two sisters to help kill Blackwood.
Right. And they try.
They do try. So they do some next like ring around the rosy magic spell.
Yeah.
Where they're like going around his statue and...
it's actually gonna start to kill him. It's probably
starting to kill him. His nose starts to bleed. He's like, what's happening? But in that moment, somebody comes in and says, yo, the Dark Lord is here and he wants to go see, like, you have to go see him at Dorian's. And so as he's leaving, he sees Prudence do this and she's like, nothing's happening over here.
And
I promise.
He's like, you're so cute, girls.
He doesn't even say that. Doing. Like, once again, he like pushes them aside. He's like, oh, who cares about your stupid spells? Like, meanwhile, if he actually knew like they were trying to kill him. So he says to Prudence, you better come. And I have a question for you. Do you think that he asked this question because he wanted her to be included, or do you think that he did it so like he could be protected by her in case something went down?
Yeah, I feel like
he was using her.
Yeah, he was using her for sure. Okay. He doesn't have a bone in his body that's like, this is my daughter.
That's true.
Like, she's gonna rep me in a good way.
Yeah, that's true. So then they go to see him at Dorian's, and he calls on, and he's like, now that you have this like shitty church, whatever, because Blackwood is explaining like, oh, like we've changed the name. It's like the Church of Judas now, whatever. And he's like, I don't really care about your church. Your church's ways. He like knocks him down so hard.
He's like, you're pathetic. Like,
your
church is like loser church.
Yeah.
And then Prudence is like, oh, like she's like giggling.
She's like in the corner. She's like, oh shit. And so then he says like, what did you do to Sabrina? Like, why doesn't she like you? What's your situation?
And he's like, bitch, who? He's like trying to act like he doesn't even know her.
And then the Dark Lord is like, you are afraid of like a tiny little girl. Yeah. Like, are you a bitch or what?
Yeah.
So he says like, she's gonna be your new queen, so you better like get used to that shit. Call her over and like we're gonna get this shit started. So Blackwood, I guess, in his mind is like, okay, well, now I'm fucked. I basically got demoted to like a janitor. So he calls on the rest of the congregation of the church and he tells them to like, he tells them like, I talked to the Dark Lord and the Dark Lord like loves our church. We're so lit.
He's like blessing us.
Blessed us. He's like, let's have like an unholy communion. So they all drink from the cup and Prudence and him are serving them. And even the weird sisters are like, is this for real? Like, are we doing this? And they take sips anyway, whatever. Moving on. That whole thing happens. And as soon as she gets back, he's like getting his shit together. He's like I'm dipping. Yeah. He's like, Prudence, let's go. We're done here.
It was such an extreme reaction though.
It was.
It was like, bro, like you lived your whole life in this position and like you're, gonna get to a higher position possibly in the future. Why are you dipping right now? Like, I get it too. Like the Dark Lord like legit made fun of him, but like this is really extreme. Like, you're killing your entire coven and you're gonna dip.
I guess he's basically like, I'd rather kill everybody and leave than have to deal with Sabrina Spellman. He hates her that much. So as he's leaving, she's like, what about the rest of the congregation? And then he says to Prudence, by the way, the fucking congregation is dead. Like, I done poisoned everybody. And she like freaks the fuck out. And before she leaves, she's like, if you leave, no matter where the fuck you go, I'm going to find you. I'm going to motherfucking kill you. And so she dips. Badass. And then it's a very big panic moment. I'm obviously like making it a lot faster than it really was. But she goes to the church. She sees her sisters dying. She glamours them back to the Spellman household and gets Ambrose and the aunts to basically help her
bring them back to life.
Bring me back to life. And there's a really cute moment between Prudence and Ambrose.
So effing cute.
Where they basically make amends with each other because they were on the other side of each other for such a long time of the season. And now they're getting back together and they're both basically like, yeah.
And Ambrose is like, your dad's fucked. Like, let's go get him. And then she's like, I love your penis. Let's go together.
Which I love.
I loved it.
I love the fact that we finally brought them back together. I think they're really cute together. Yeah. And I think that and not just because they're two of the only black characters on the show. I think that the way that they wrote them together and made them kind of understand each other. For one, we thought that this guy was gay, like straight out.
Yeah.
And then Prudence came out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh, okay.
And
I'm
they changed
into this.
it. They were like, no, he's like bi. Like
he loves everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was totally feeling it. I don't know about you, but like,
I loved it. I was totally like, favorite part of the episode. I loved it.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on because there's something that happens at the very, very end of the episode with them, but we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the Dark Lord at Dorian. So first he walks in, and he's wearing nothing but the loincloth, so we get like a nice shot of his ass. And he goes straight to Dorian, and Dorian's like, who are you, sexy man? And he's like, I basically like gave you your soul. Yeah. So like, I'm your daddy.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, daddy. And he says, where's Lilith? I need to find her. Like, why isn't she like coming for me right now? And she's like, I'm right here. And she like lurks out of nowhere. Yeah. And he's like, why aren't you like lit for me? And she's like, I was preparing your shit, but also I'm like kind of cheesed at you. Yeah. And she lays it all out for him, which I loved it. She wasn't like afraid to ask him this story, but she basically says, why her? Why Sabrina? Why do you love her so much? Why is she going to become queen and not me?
Yeah.
And he says once again, what she's been saying this whole time, it's not your turn. It's not your time, Lilith. It's not your time. And she basically says like, when is it going to be my time?
I have waited 600 years.
Like,
when is my time?
Like, if not 600 years from now. So he says, listen, I don't care about your petty shit. Bring me Sabrina. And that's when that whole thing happens. So while they're waiting for the Dark Lord, Lilith and Sabrina finally talk. And I think this is actually when she tells the rest of the story of like what happens to him and why he turns into a monster. So she like, it's like another cut to that scene. And then you also learn that is where they both were living, her and the Dark Lord. Yeah. The fact that Greendale is like this nexus for hell. Like the Hellmouth.
Yeah.
It's like Buffy's like summer.
In Buffy it was the Hellmouth.
Yeah.
Which was Sunnydale. Which is in this show it's like the Hell Gates, I guess.
Right.
They call it.
Same idea.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so powerful and that's why all the weird shit happens there. So that whole situation happens. She kind of tells Lilith off. She's like, you're so weak. You're such a loser. And it was a pretty powerful moment because she's like, why do you even do that with him? Like, why do you even care about him so much? And she was like, that's all I know. But anyway, then she goes to talk to the Dark Lord. So face to face, this is like the big ass moment. And he basically says you need to do X, Y, and Z. First things first, you got to blow that like Gabriel's horn, and then we got to like call the people from the gates of hell, and then we got to dance the Mephisto Waltz, and after that's done, like the apocalypse will begin.
Right.
Like that's, I guess, how it all happens. And she's really like cheesed about it. She's like, I don't understand why this all happened. I need some answers. And the first answer that she gets, because she was like, I don't understand how I got here. And he says something along the lines of like, every path you ever took, including ever since you signed that book, led you here. And then he's like, right? Nick Scratch.
Oh my God.
Boom.
And then he's like, yeah, it was me. I'm like, I did not trust you for a fucking second.
So were you gagged by this situation?
No, because I if you go back in the podcast, like I literally say, I'm like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. There's something about him that I'm not trusting.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he did have a really good ending to it all, so like I still feel okay about it, but like no, I wasn't shocked.
So he reveals himself that he was basically told by the Dark Lord to befriend Sabrina from the very beginning, but then he's like, but then I fell in love, and then I couldn't help myself.
He says, he's like, I fell in love with you,
and she like literally spits in his face.
She's like,
Puh. And he's like, gross. So he dips. He's like heartbroken. And then the final bomb drop of the conversation is he says, she's like, what did you do to my dad? What did you do to my parents? And he's like, you think that your daddy is Edward Spellman?
I was like, oh God.
I am your motherfucking
He's like, I am your father. It was very like Star Wars. Like, I am your father.
It totally was. And it's because, and he explains it, he's like, there was some next deal that was made with the dad or something.
So who did
she doesn't really understand.
Did he impregnate the mom?
So
do they get into specifics?
So they don't get into the specifics. I don't think. He's just like, just show up at the waltz. I'll see you soon. So we're cutting to the next moment, which is the first attack against the Dark Lord. Sabrina goes back to her Spellman house, and she's like, yo,
let's
the
get
Dark
this guy.
Lord, but also like the Dark Lord just done told me this like crazy shit. Like, what's going on? And so Hilda then remembers a moment where she's
like this. She's like, because Zelda's like freaking out. Zelda's like, I've never even heard of this story. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, like, you're a Spellman. And Hilda's like, you know what? I think I remember something like 30 years ago when like her mom told me that like there might have been another guy. Like, and Zelda's like, bitch, you're just seeing this now? Like you've been holding on to this moment?
Like even before the fucking baptism, you're like, God. By the way, he is kind of important.
Might be your dad.
Like maybe.
Yeah.
So you find out that Diana was worried that she wasn't going to be able to have Edward's kid. And then she was worried that, like, maybe this wasn't her child. Or, like, his child.
His child, yeah.
And they're like, okay, we got to fucking kill this guy.
Very much like a Jesus, Mary, like,
Yes,
situation.
very much that.
Where, like, the P didn't go in the V, and it was a baby.
Like, a magic decide, like, whatever. And so they want to kill him. And then Wardwell now turns around and she was like, I'm still pissed off. Your little speech to me, like earlier, Sabrina, like got me. I'm going to help you guys out.
Yeah.
So she goes in and talks. And I love this moment
because the way they edited it was
so well done. Because I was like, is it happening? Is it not happening? Because
basically like Wardwell, they map out the plan of like what they're going to do and how they're going to attack him. And it's actually happening. It's the scenes are being interwoven throughout the voiceover. So yeah, you're wondering like, wait, are they planning this or is it actually happening? And it is actually happening.
Right.
And basically the gist of it is they try to get him to the like
altar,
where that altar started, and then like I guess Ambrose builds like an iron like
wand
or
it's
a
like,
hoof. Like it was like to nail his hoof down.
I think there was like a special hoof. So what happens is they plan it all out. And as she's talking through it, she's like, you're gonna show up and you're gonna like be by yourself. And then he's gonna think like he's gonna be caught off guard. He like looked all cute in his like gold like little shirt. And as soon as he gets close enough to the altar, she jams the horse hoof on his foot, and now he can't move. And then as soon as that happens, Ambrose uses like some special magic. I think it's literally a wand. He starts like whipping at him like this like whatever magic power. He's whipping at him, but it's not like doing anything. Obviously, the Dark Lord is too strong, so he freezes Ambrose right away. And as that's about to happen, he can't turn around fast enough, and then the sisters, the aunts, jump in and
they stab him in like the holes where the angel wings were.
Right. And it was like these special knives from like the Holy Land or something like that. But even that didn't kill him, because he like turns back into his original form. He freaks out, and then like the knives come out, and then he's fine.
Yeah.
And then he turns the knives around and like is about to kill the ants. And this is the one moment that like I understand what, and this is a moment where I'm like, I understand why they did it, but also like he wouldn't have done that. Which is, he basically kept them alive.
Yeah, he would have killed them right away.
There. Yeah, 100%. He would have blown Ambrose up right away. But he doesn't. And he says, try that shit on me one more time, and I'm not going to show any mercy. You better show up for that waltz. And she was like, well, fuck. That didn't work out at all. So she goes back home, and they have to figure out another plan. And this is when she grabs the Akron, right? Is that what it's called? The little puzzle piece, the configuration. And she finds it. She finds all the pieces. She's like, maybe this can do something. So she finds the Akron.
I love that it came back into play.
I do love it.
Yeah.
I love that they started to weave a few of those storylines from the very beginning of the series to this moment. Yeah. Including this one. So she grabs the Akron, and Nick like finds himself back in. He brings himself back in, and he's like, yo, I'm sorry, girl. And she was like, I don't want to see your fucking face. Like, get away from me. And he continues to just apologize and say, like, this is my situation. And she's like, did you even, like, ever since the first day one, day one, you like were tricking me this entire time? And he's like, no, I actually like really liked you on the first day for no other reason other than the fact that I thought you were like a really cool girl. You were really bold and like really like awesome, and that's why I liked you so much. And so she's like, okay, fine, I think you can like maybe prove yourself
just
to me.
Help me with
if
this,
you
and
fix
we'll
this
see.
Akron, like get it back together, and like let's just do this shit. So before we cut to the final showdown scene, let's talk about the gates of hell, because that whole situation happens first. So as we mentioned, the rest of the gang goes down to the gates.
So their mission was to stop the door from opening, obviously, right?
Well, I guess they were supposed to just find the gates of hell
true.
First and foremost, and just like, I guess, report back, but they ended up staying down there.
Yeah.
So it was really funny because they go back to the painting, and Roz is like, don't worry, guys, I practiced the cunning, so like we can do this.
I've been practicing
the cunning like every single night, like for the past like 7 nights. So she touches the painting and she cuns, and she sees the gates of hell like inside.
Yeah. Also, please note that Harvey brought his notepad with him.
Oh my god, yeah.
So you know it's about to come back into play. I know. Like, why did he grab it?
What he brought it, I was like, okay, I don't know about this. But anyway, that's literally what happens.
So basically what happens is like they find these symbols, and like they basically have to write them down or draw them out.
So first they find the actual gate, and they're like, oh, I guess this is the gate. And then she cuns again, she touches it, and then she sees all those symbols.
Right.
And then she's like, I don't know what to do with these symbols.
She's like,
what
I can't draw. And he's like, wait, I can draw.
Paper.
She's like, let me cun through you, and let's cun together.
So they cun inside of each other.
Wait, no, they don't do that. No.
She touches him, and
they like tether to each other, basically.
Yeah. And so he's able to see. He also sees all the symbols.
He's seeing what she's seeing, and then so he's drawing it out, basically.
He's drawing it out and like chucking them.
Yeah.
And then Theo is like lining it up.
Yeah.
And
it was cute.
Did you think this was gonna work? Because I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
I did, because it was the finale, so I was like, okay, they gotta get to
like,
some
maybe
sort of
something's
end.
Gonna happen. Yeah. But I was like, for all you know, those symbols are like opening the gates of hell. Like, I don't. What are you guys doing? Like, assuming that this is gonna make things work. So anyway, whatever. They put all these things down. They're laying them down. And as soon as Sabrina blows the horn, because she ends up doing that at the last like first
upstairs,
attack upstairs, the door starts to open, and that's when they're like,
see like all the demons and shit coming out.
Yeah, they're like, bah! Like they're really ready to come out, and Theo is like, hold on, do one more drawing. Maybe that'll stop them. And I'm like, I don't think one drawing is going to do it.
I think Harvey's pencil's finished.
Like, he's like already done. So she drops the last one, and that's when the gates stop moving. Like they're still open, but they're just like ajar.
Yeah.
So she's like, yes, I did it. And then, like, I think there's a moment where Theo gets pulled in for a second, but whatever, they save her. Or save him.
I thought for sure she was gonna die because I was like finale, like sacrificial death. Like I thought for sure she'd be dead.
I was like, no, I would have been so annoyed if I was like, Theo just got his like comeuppance. Like, why would it happen now? But anyway, it was a cool moment to see all. It was very like Stranger Things-y to have them have this moment together, and it was cool. And then Wardwell shows up, like, while this is all happening. Like, what's going on over here? Like, hey, guys. And they're like, Wardwell, because remember, at this point...
They think that she's the teacher still, right? She's
like, what are you doing here? Did Sabrina send you here? Like, what's the situation? So then she kind of brings them back to the house. So this is the final sequence that we're going to talk about. And the gang comes back to the house and talk about the big master plan.
Right.
And the master plan, it's not explained. It's just shown, which is just really weird. Does it take place at the school? Or is it like at a ballroom? Did they rent like a ballroom?
It looked like a ball. It didn't look like the school. So, it must have been just like another set. He has like locations around town, probably.
I was like, all right, cool. Like, so he's sitting and waiting on this throne for Sabrina. And
it was a masquerade ball, which is always cool. It's always a good time.
Especially when
we've learned from Gossip Girl.
You add the extra layer of... a musical.
Yeah.
What did you think?
No.
I knew you were going to like it.
It didn't work. It felt weird.
First of all,
it just felt like there's too much going on right now.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is what you guys are doing to distract him? Like
a musical.
A musical. You don't have to sing Masquerade. I will say that I'm just assuming.
It did look good, though. It did.
It was very well done. Beautiful. Visually beautiful. I won't talk about it too much. I guess it's just the connection between like Riverdale and RAS and how much he loves musicals, I'm assuming.
It just didn't fit in this moment because it is such a big showdown and it's like leading up to something. True. It's like, okay, bro, like we don't care right now.
So they do distract him, I guess. They distract him with the singing while they're chanting. So he's not noticing that they're chanting. Like chanting because there's like fucking Kieran Shipka singing in the back corner.
She's like, you're my dottie, you're my dottie.
So like, that's basically what happens. They're all in a circle. They start chanting. The thing ends and he realizes that they're all in a circle. And then Nick chucks the Akron.
Yeah.
He
gets like a Pokeball.
He
wants to like put him in a Pokeball.
He caught him. It's like Master Ball, but it's not a Master Ball. Clearly, he used an Ultra Ball, and it
was really cool because it almost was. There was a meaning behind it in the sense that, like, you know, Sabrina's dad might have set this up so that she could use this thing on him.
It's
like it all came together. Yeah. I hoped. So then, like, he goes into it, right?
Yes, he goes in it, and he's like, nailed it. They're all so happy.
You're like, captured.
And then, but then the ball explodes.
It was really cool because there were so many parts where like, yes, they got him, and then she holds the Akron. Right. And it starts like shaking and like getting hot. She's like, ah! And she like drops it. Like a bop it, and she drops it, and it basically crashes, and he comes back out.
Yeah,
because he was too high up in levels. That Pokeball didn't work.
Did not work.
She should have used the other one.
Should have used the next ball, like the master.
So yeah,
ball.
He basically jumps out of that.
Right. So now they've tried to like kill him twice,
and it's not working. And then in this moment, this was like obviously like the
this was
best
the
moment.
Big thing. So
just
Wardwell,
as he's about to do what? He was about to kill her?
I think he's like, we're done here. Like, I think he's just about to like blast everybody in the room. I don't know what he was about to do. But he goes after Sabrina, or I think it's Nick. I don't know who's in front of him. But as soon as that happens, Wardwell stops him with her magic. She freezes
him, yeah.
This is one thing that I'm like, okay, is this like a bit of a stretch? Why does Lilith have this much power over
Well, she did
Dark
say,
Lord?
like, I can't hold him for too long. Like, it's going to end soon. So, like, do something.
Do
make
something
moves.
quick. Make moves.
And then she, like, freezes him. And even Nick's like, holy cow, that was cool. You froze him. And she's like, Nick, there's only one thing we left to do. And he's like, what? And she's like, you need to like bind him to your body. He's like, true. Like, I'm the best binder in the world. Yeah, like, I got this.
Well, I don't think she really nominates him specifically because I think Sabrina was like, I'll do it. I'll bind him into my body.
Yeah.
And then everyone's
like, no, you're the main girl. You can't.
Like, you're the main storyline. We can't do this to you. Though, that would be an interesting story. That would be
I thought that's where it was going to go. I thought for sure.
And, like, she's possessed for the next season.
For sure.
But anyway, that's not what happens. Nick decides to do it. He's like, I'm the best binder out there. I'll do it. So he does this. And then he gets sucked into Nick's body. And before that happens, he says, thank you, Spellman. You taught me how to love, which was very sweet.
So cute.
He put me back in his like good books. And then Wardwell like right away like puts like some spell on him to put him to bed.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if it's him. Somebody puts a spell on him.
Yeah.
So now he's sleeping like eternally and like he can't get out. The Dark Lord can't get out. And the final ending, so this kind of like covers everybody. Wardwell goes back to the gates of hell with Nick, and she gives Sabrina her powers back.
Yeah. She's like, Brink.
She's like, goodbye, thank you. Now I'm the queen of hell.
Yeah, which I don't know who gave her that position. Whoa. I was like, but who made you queen of hell now?
I guess like that was the deal. Like you help me, and I get to be queen. So now she's the queen of hell. She gives her her powers back because I was like so glad about that. I was like, what's gonna happen to Sabrina's powers? Because I'm all about the magic. And then Prudence, it cuts to Prudence, and she's at school. And she like turned into like fucking Blade.
Superhero, yeah. It was like, crazy.
Now she's like a vampire killer over here. And she's got these 2 blades. And she's talking to Ambrose. And she's like, I'm going to go find my dad. I'm like, where is he? Like just...
Yeah, she's going to
I don't know how that's going to happen. But she goes with Ambrose. He's like, let's go on an adventure together. You and me, 2 POCs. And like just like go for it.
Yeah.
And... right before they leave, she grabs her 2 knives and she like cuts off the head of the statue.
Yeah, cool.
And what do you think about that? What do you think about that storyline?
I loved it. I love the way they wrapped it up. They left it on that, you know, that note of we're gonna expect them working together next season and having a deeper connection. I'm so into it. I love it.
I'm so excited for it. Yeah. Another big thing that happens is Wardwell, like the real Wardwell, comes up.
So crazy.
So. What did you think of that?
It was a little weird. Like I felt like they didn't have to do that because I didn't understand what. Like I guess maybe just to have the actress back on set, like to have her included in the production. But then, like, otherwise, like it didn't make sense because like she wakes up and she's like, "Oh, I've been asleep for a year and a half." Cool.
And I'm like, nobody cares about Wardwell. Yeah. Like also like someone should tell her that like her boyfriend's dead now. Like,
fuck. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't really know what's gonna go on with that whole situation because I love Michelle Gomez. Like I want her on this show, but. If she's just going to be like, I'm going to repossess Wardwell's body next season.
I think Wardwell, the evil one, will come back, obviously. But it's like, how is she going to come back, too? She's going to have to get back in her body.
Right. That's what I mean.
Crazy.
So it's going to be interesting to see like what happens in that situation. And it ends off with Sabrina with the core
in the coffee shop or the comic book shop. And
they're like, okay, this is cool, but I miss my boo.
Yeah.
I want to get my boyfriend back. I'm going to bring my boyfriend back from hell.
From hell. It was cool. I love that ending.
That's how it all ends.
Loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
So before we get into our recap roundups, let's talk about a few questions. Number 1, what does this mean for Wardwell being the queen of the darkness?
I don't know. I'm hoping we see more of it, but you're right. Like we're not going to see her in the Wardwell like look because technically she's not that person woman anymore. Yeah. So like I don't know. Like honestly, I don't know what that's gonna look like next season.
Like is she gonna be the Dark Lord now? She's gonna just like appear as a monster to people.
Like in the comics, she looked like a monster. She looked like a skeleton of a woman, but like a skeleton, like a dead corpse almost.
Right.
So maybe that's what they're gonna do. Oh yeah, I just saw on the Instagram yesterday that they were creating this like plastic figure for her.
Oh my god!
Like a thing over her face. So that's probably what they're doing.
Oh, so she's gonna like be full on like monster face.
Yeah. That's probably what they're doing.
Do you think that she had anything to do with Nick choosing to put the Dark Lord inside her body?
I don't know.
Cause like I felt like it was almost. Like perfectly timed where she was
but it's like, but why though? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, at
the
end of the day, it's like, but why would she want to do that even to Nick? Like,
that's true.
If it was planned.
Yeah, I guess. And the next question is, what will happen to Nick? Like, what do you think is going to happen to him? Like, what's his...
I mean, they're going to save him, but I think it's definitely going to be a very Buffy Angel situation where he comes back from hell and he's fucked up. Like, that's what happened to Angel. Like, she brought him back and he wasn't meant to come back and he was all like traumatized.
Living for that story.
So, like, I'm so... into it because I think it's gonna break Nick apart. We've seen him a very cocky, very confident like warlock. So like to see him as this really broken and weak, vulnerable person, like it's gonna be totally different between him and Sabrina. And I'm excited. Yeah.
And that is pretty much it. We know that the council is gonna be the next situation for sure with the Spellmans. Do you think that like now Hilda and Zelda are gonna like lead the council? Like what are they gonna do?
I think they're gonna lead the coven for sure because they brought everyone back, right?
Yeah,
so
true.
Like they took care of everyone too, so they're definitely gonna be like
there's going to be like a resistance against like the main council now, which I'm super excited about. Did you guys know that the show just got picked up for 3 and 4? Like, so season 3 and 4. It's fucking amazing. So I'm really excited to see what they say next or show next. But let's get into our
recap roundups.
Best moment. I think my best moment has to go to Lilith and her whole, origin story, the visuals, the way she was with the Dark Lord, like their like cute little like romantic scenes. I just think the way they showed us like the world that they were in, they didn't have to show that, and I loved every second of it. It was so American Gods. It like made me want to watch the show all over again. Like it was just really, really well done. I was very impressed by how they did it.
It was really good.
Yeah.
My best moment is gonna go to the attack in the woods that didn't work, but I love the way that it was narrated and edited, and I love seeing the whole family kind of come together to try to stop him, even though it didn't work. It was just really well done the way it was all played out. I liked watching it. I love magic.
WTF moment. WTF moment I think has to go to Who's Your Daddy? Like I think although in that moment I did expect it, because I was like, hey, he's not gonna like choose her as his wife. Like that's not gonna happen. Right. What else is there? What else connection is there? He's gotta be her dad or something. Yeah. So, but it was still shocking.
My WTF moment is gonna go to, even though the masquerade was like more like WTF in that moment, I was like, why is this happening? I still liked it. Whereas the Nick reveal, even though to your point, we had been kind of alluding, like, do we trust him? He looks kind of sketchy. Like, what is this situation? I still felt sad for him, like, especially when he did walk out, and I was like, oh shit, like, he's basically gonna have to like tell the truth now to her. It was very like Aladdin to me, so I was like, oh shit. And he had like a good kind of circle back by the end of it.
Yeah, he did. MVP's Nick Scratch.
Nick.
Because I think first of all, he like volunteered as tribute kind of to be like, put the devil in my body.
Give it to me.
And I just think I'm so effing excited for his storyline in the next season. Yeah. And how it's going to be a huge one for him for sure.
So excited.
And you're right. The way he did come back after admitting that like I was working for him this whole time. Yeah. But like, obviously I still love you and stuff. And he figured out the Akron. So like, MVP for sure.
Yeah, he did a really good job. I'm going to give this to Sabrina. I think this was the first episode in a while where she's done a lot of good things, and she's really, really tried, and she's really pushed it forward. And I'm giving it to her because she's our main girl. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next season.
LVP.
My LVP, this is the hard one because I do feel like everyone pretty much came through this episode. 100%. I don't know, maybe Salem? Because I kind of felt like he was not really helping her. Like he was like, love that. I'm like, do something, help this girl out. Like,
it's so funny that you say that because you forget that the show that we knew in the 90s was so centered around him as a character.
He was lit.
He was literally in that show. Like literal, like he could talk. And you don't get any of that. Like I'm surprised they even put that.
That's fine. I'm not missing his voice. I'm just missing his more of his guidance and like his abilities. And like that's what I'm missing a little bit more.
He did more in the earlier episodes where he was kind of like this ghoul that kind of helped her out, and now he's completely
kind of faded out, which is meowing. It's okay, but like if I gotta choose an MVP, like it's gonna be Salem.
Sure, I'm into that, and like hopefully they give him some more later in like next season. My LVP is gonna go to the Dark Lord, and I'm only gonna give it to him because like yes, he's fucking fine as hell, and I wish we got more of Daddy, but I'm really surprised that in that attack moment that he didn't kill the Spellman family. And for this man to be like, I am Satan, I am the Dark Lord.
He wasn't that scary.
He's not ruthless. Yeah. He's really hot. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about you.
Bro, you're going to bring back the Dark Lord. You got to kill someone.
You got to kill one person.
Like, what kind of villain are you?
You didn't even kill Melvin.
You're the devil.
Like, you didn't even kill Blackwood. Like, what are you doing with your life? Anyway. Yeah, and at the end of it all, he just like got sucked into some like teenager's body, like whatever.
Yeah,
like okay.
Like who has the bigger penis?
Yeah, realistically, it's Nick. But now you have a big penis because you are Nick's body. It's like, think about that for a second.
The best line.
What was your best line?
Best line, I think it's going to go to the ending, the last word that Sabrina says. She goes, "Let's go get my boyfriend from hell."
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm down.
Sounded like a lot of fun,
it was like,
sure.
It was like badass. I liked it.
Mine's going to go to Sabrina and Nick talking to each other. And he said he says to her, "You were fearless and I fell hard." And he's just trying to like implore his like, love for her. And she repeats back and says, "I don't think I can ever trust you again." And I'm like, that's some real deep relationship. Deep. No. But that's the end of the podcast, guys.
That's it. What a good season. Like, what a good back half of this season. I was so effing impressed.
Yeah.
I'm loving this Buffy, like, angel vibe going on right now with them two. I'm really excited for the next season.
Me too.
Like, really. I don't know what happened with their writing, but, like,
the writing,
somebody picked it up.
Yeah. They did such a good job with it. I think that this ramp up now is going to be, like, at a different level, and I'm very excited to see what happens next. Final announcements, guys. We're thanking our Patreon family, our Rewinder squad, White, Wesley, and our Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Kate, and Soleil, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, and Tamala.
Thanks, guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you'll get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive contests, content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And you can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.